Hey guys, holy cow gang, it has been quite a while since I've shared a video with you guys. In fact, this video is just kind of like an overview of what I've missed with you guys. I do apologize for it being so long. There's been a lot of stuff going on in my life, so I apologize. That's you know, for me to know, don't worry about it, but I just want to show you kind of some of the content that you guys have missed since I've been away. Vampire Coast DLC dropped, Prophet and the Warlock DLC dropped, and the Hunter and the Beast DLC just dropped recently. So here is... In fact, why am I in Mortal Empires? Let's go to the Eye of the Vortex. So I will show you all of the legendary lords that have been added since the last time I've shown a video. So first we have is Kurp Fellheart. This is for the Dark Elves. He was an FLC lord, so he was free. I truly enjoy his campaign. People trash his campaign. I don't really understand why. I think his campaign is super interesting. You start off in Lustria, as you can see here, like on the southeast edge of Lustria, and you know, you're surrounded by enemies, but the Dark Elves, one, they're used to that. Two, if you get Kurp Fellheart up high enough, he gets a dragon that is, they made up, like CA made up the dragon for him, but the dragon is just super cool. It's called Maelstrom. It has a unique skin, and it's just really neat. It has a couple unique abilities, and I just really enjoy his campaign. So there's that. The next, I'm gonna try and go in order. I meant to make a Vampire Coast video. I never did. I apologize. I probably, well, not probably. I might start one for you guys. I do have extremely limited time, so I do apologize. I am going to try and actually complete a campaign with you guys if I can. So here's the Vampire Coast characters. Luther Harkon. He is actually an old Lamian vampire. So Lamia, that's the Tomb King, so Setra, all that. He was turned into a vampire there. He was on a ship. His ship got wrecked off the coast of Lustria. He got stolen, his tomb got stolen by Norscan raiders, and he crashed, they crashed off the coast. His tomb opened, his casket opened. He killed all the Norscan raiders on the ship, and then he created the Vampire Coast. He is the originator of the Vampire Coast. Then there is Count Noctilus. This is a truly fun campaign to play. Challenge easy. It is fairly easy depending on what you do, but anyway, Count Noctilus' story is he was a von Karstein. So Manfred, Vlad, you know, of that line, and basically he wanted to set off and make his own destiny as a vampire, and he wound up finding the Maelstrom. The Maelstrom was like a vortex, if you remember the vortex. It's where all the winds of magic were getting sucked out of the world. But that was basically a vortex in the bottom of the ocean, and he manipulated it to use necromantic magic and draw all undead to him. So he is basically like, you know, Luther Harkon created the Vampire Coast, but Count Noctilus truly is the best of the Vampire Coast legendary lords in terms of his power. So that is him, and they added a special province for him, the Galleon's Graveyard. That is where Count Noctilus, in the lore, there's an island, the Galleon's Graveyard, and if you get there, there's a giant storm, and if you get through all that nonsense, you can actually find Count Noctilus, but by that time he'll have probably already killed you. There's Aranessa Saltspite. Honestly, played her campaign for about 20 minutes, got bored. She is a human, so she's not actually a vampire, which is strange. She has Sartosa Free Company, which they're basically just, yeah, I don't know, anti-infantry infantry, and they're humans, but there's nothing else really interesting about her. I'm just being honest. I mean, 2 of her 3 Lord effects affect only 1 unit, the Sartosan units. And by late game in campaign, doesn't matter, who cares? Like, why do I care that you can bring shitty humans when I can bring a giant Necrofex Colossus with a cannon attached to his arm? Like, I don't care. So, yeah, her backstory, though, is that she is a daughter of Manan. Manan is the sea god, basically Poseidon in the Warhammer fantasy universe. So that's her claim to fame. That's Aranus Assault Spite. Then there's Silastra Direfin, or Direfin, as she says. She's very French. She's Bretonnian. She is a CA original character. The reason she's cool is because that means that CA in the future has the right to kind of make up characters if they, if Games Workshop approves of it and they can make it fit into the lore. So that means that some races that may not have, more than 2 legendary lords, like Norska, maybe they'll be able to make up a couple more legendary lords for a Norska, or, Chaos Dwarfs down the line, something like that. So her backstory is she was a famous opera singer in Bretonnia. She was going to sing for the Phoenix King of the High Elves, and her ship was sunk by a storm, and she came back resurrected because she was so pissed off that she didn't get to sing for the king. So that's her backstory, silly as that sounds. Then we have, I'm trying to go in order here, guys, so bear with me. Then we have, and this, one of my favorite Warhammer Fantasy characters, Tehanoin. I just wanted you to hear him say it himself. Honestly, very disappointing for me. His campaign was lackluster compared to the next character I'm going to get to. His start positions in both Vortex and Mortal Empires are extremely difficult. And I just feel they could have done more with him. He is an extremely important character in Warhammer Fantasy, especially later on editions like 8th edition. So, I don't know. I mean, he's cool. I think he looks great. The units that were added along with this DLC were great. You got the red-crested skinks, which are poison damage, armor-piercing infantry, which that's great. They also added salamanders, so that's fire damage missile units that are very fast. You can see their speed is 70, so that's cool. The units that they added with this DLC were great, but overall, kind of disappointing. To be honest, I'm just being honest. Like, I want to love him. He's one of my favorite characters, but unless the Lizardmen get even more units than what they got with the Hunter and the Beast, which we'll get to, I kind of just disappointed in that Lord. Then we have Ikit Claw. They give his campaign hard for the Vortex. I think he's normal for Mortal Empires, but I can tell you right now, this is one of the easiest campaigns I've ever played in any Total War. Medieval 2, Shogun 2, Three Kingdoms, you name it. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun campaign. He gets a nuclear weapon that you can bring to the battlefield, so that is effing amazing. You can see all of his bonuses. He's got 20% research rate, +2 recruitment rank for new lords. His engineering buildings get 40% cost reduction. The Doom Rocket, there is the nuclear weapon. He's got 50% upkeep reduction for Gisele's rattling guns and warp fire throwers. Those are extremely hard-hitting long-range ranged units, and he gets +2 rank for all of those weapons teams as well. As you can see, he also starts with Giselles, Rattling Guns, and Doomflayer. Those are 3 of the units that were added with this DLC. The Skaven went from one of the, in my opinion, the hardest race to win a campaign with because of all their trash units to completely being able to obliterate entire sections of the campaign map. They also added under empires, or under cities for the Skaven under empire, meaning you can send your heroes to put in quote-unquote under cities. You could leech income off the cities, you can increase Skaven corruption, you could increase Skaven food production, all sorts of different stuff. That came with this DLC. An incredible DLC for the Skaven side. I feel like the Lizardman side, Tahenowin, and their side got kind of shafted, to be honest. Not only because of just the sheer amount of amazing units that the Skaven got compared to the Lizardmen in terms of quality, but also, if you see this, Ikit Claw has the Forbidden Workshop. So basically, that is a special subset of unique mechanics for Ikit Claw alone, where he can recruit regiments of renown from this Forbidden Workshop when he completes certain tasks that no other legendary Lord of the Skaven can get. So, I mean, he really, once you get Ikit Claw rolling, it's game over for the AI, or it should be anyway, if you know what you're doing. Then we get to the last 3, and then I will be done with this video. I just wanted to give you guys an overview of these legendary lords and kind of what they bring to the table. If you want to know more about all the units that these DLCs brought to the table, let me know. I will make a video on it. Otherwise, if I ever make a video with these races, then I can point that out then. Exception being Vampire Coast, I will only go over that unless one, I'm asked, or 2, I specifically do a Vampire Coast campaign Let's Play. So let's go over the 3 other legendary lords. First is Kai the Wanderer. So the Hunter and the Beast DLC adds a lot to Total War Warhammer 2 in terms of what we can expect for future content. They completely did an Empire overhaul in terms of that race's mechanics in the campaign, which is amazing. They gave... Well, actually, I'll speak about Nakai first, and then when I speak about Marcus, we'll get into the Empire. Nakai the Wanderer. By the way, I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't go over Tahenowin and Ikit Claw's special places in the lore. Tahenowin is the prophet of Sotek. When the Lizardmen were getting their butts kicked all over the field by the Skaven and Lustria, basically the Slann were just sleeping. The Slann can sleep for decades, if not centuries at a time. And the Skinks, Kroxigors, and Saurus knew something was wrong because the Skaven were just overrunning their temple cities. And the Slann kind of just, they weren't able to keep up with the threat because they just are lazy toads who sleep all the time and are fat. So this prophet of Sotek, Tahenowin, said, you know, I found this plaque. That's why he's carrying this plaque. And it speaks of another old one who they hadn't known about called Sotek. And Sotek is an old one god. That's the creator gods. If you remember Lizardmen lore, those are the creator gods, or the old ones. He's a serpent god who his sole job is to rid the world of Skaven, and specifically Lustria. So they have to start with Lustria and then go from there. So they want to kill all the rats, basically. So that is Tahenowin. He basically what he did was he got he got a ton of skinks together. He got them all hyped up. Then he got the Croc scores involved. Then he got the Saurus backing because he won a few amazing battles. And then finally, grudgingly, the Slann accepted him and his way, you know, his way of fighting, even though they didn't agree with it a lot of times. He's just a really cool character because he was basically like, listen, we're all about to die. This is apocalypse now, and I'm going to do something about it. And that's why I kind of feel like he got the shaft, because he's really a pivotal character in the Lizardman lore. And I don't know, I'm hoping they give him a rework or something, because I feel like he needs it. Ikka Claw, he is the master engineer of Clan Scryer. He is the best warlock engineer the Skaven have. That's why he gets all these bonuses to weapons teams. That's why he gets special Regiment of Renown units, because he's the smartest. You know, he's the best inventor the Skaven have ever had. He's like at least 500 years old, which for a Skaven is incredible. Normally their normal lifespan's about 20-30 years. So anyway, that's Ikka Claw and Tenowin. And then we go to Nakai the Wanderer. Nakai the Wanderer is a Kroxigor. It is extremely rare for a Kroxigor to be able to lead armies, and in fact in the tabletop I believe he was just a hero, so he wasn't even a lord, which, side note, another cool thing for CA is that since they're making a lot of these heroes into legendary lords, maybe we'll see some heroes, like big name heroes, become either legendary heroes or legendary lords in the future. So that's cool. Another cool thing that they did was they made Nakai the Wanderer's faction a horde faction. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to make hordes more fun in campaign. Because if you've played Beastmen or Chaos, you know that horde factions are not, we're just being honest here, they're not always the most fun, okay? So that, I really like that CA is going on a limb, basically using characters that they can bring in. So they're making DLC, they're making new things, and what they're doing is not only they're making new things for factions that haven't had it before, but then they can improve on older factions or different factions that also need a facelift. So it's really a cool idea. What happens is when Nakai conquers a city, he gifts it to one of 3 different old ones. Itzel, Quetzal, and then I forget the other one's name is like Ox. It's like Zolioltol or something like that. I forget. I would have to play the campaign to tell you. I forget how to pronounce it right now. But once he gifts it to them, after a certain amount of settlements be given to a certain old one, he gets more and more bonuses from that certain old one. Then once he hits rank 30 with that, or 25 or 30 with that certain old one, he can move on to gifting to the next old one. Or you could do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you could just level up all the old ones at one time. But I've found that gifting to one at a time is much more effective. The units that we got in the Hunter and Beast DLC, Sacred Kroxigor, basically they're Kroxigors that are far more useful. If you're not Nakai the Wanderer, who, as you can see, gives buffs to Kroxigors, I would almost always use Sacred Kroxigors over regular Kroxigors. They have magical attacks, their melee attack is through the roof, their weapon strength is increased, their charge bonus is increased, their leadership is increased. They're just much better overall. Nakai the Wanderer's backstory is that he is, as his faction is called, the Spirit of the Jungle. He was called the Spirit of the Jungle. He is a first spawning Kroxigor. He's one of the first Kroxigors ever made and one of the only ones left. Much like Lord Croak, who was also added in the Prophet and the Warlock DLC, who I forgot to talk about, is a first-generation Slann. He's a first-generation Kroktor. First generation is extremely important. I believe Krokgar is a first-generation Saurus. The generations for Lizardmen is extremely important. The older Lizardmen is, the wiser they are, the stronger they are, the more respected they are. So that is a big deal. And Nakai basically goes wherever he has visions. The old ones give him visions, and he just goes wherever the old ones tell him to go, because he knows that the old ones are giving him these visions for a reason. And Nakai is basically always where he is. He is always where he needs to be when he needs to be there. So that's why he is a Horde faction. That's why it makes sense to make him a Horde faction. And like I said, the bonus is that hopefully we'll get better Horde play in the future for other factions. Going back to Lord Kroak real quick, from the Prophet and the Warlock DLC, Lord Kroak is a legendary hero. Lord Kroak was he's the last of the first generation Slann. Basically what happened is he was fighting off millions of demons. Slann were incredibly powerful in the first generation. And what he did was, he was in, I can't remember the city he was defending, but he was defending a city, and basically all was lost, and he cast Ruination of Cities. He basically destroyed the whole city with how powerful his magic was. But in doing so, the demons were able to reach him. They literally ripped his body to shreds, and then skinks went around, gathered up his body parts, and patched him back together. And they were gonna bury him in a ceremony. Well, not bury him, but they were just gonna wrap him up and, you know, keep him on his palanquin even though he was dead, just to honor him. And basically what happened was his spirit refused to die. He was like, no, I'm not dead. I'm not alive, but I'm not dead. So Lord Kroak, the only spell he can cast is Ruination of Cities. But it's an extremely, Deliverance of Itza. I'm sorry. He wasn't Itza. He cast the spell Deliverance of Itza. Basically wiped out all the demons, but for that his body got ripped apart. So I apologize. It wasn't the it was the Deliverance of Itza. That was the correct spell. Anyway, he refused to die. He went back into his mummified corpse. He can't move. He can't talk. But the Lizardmen know that he is still basically, his spirit is conscious of what's going on, but he can only cast one spell, and that's the Deliverance of Itza. So anyway, that came free with the Prophet and the Warlock DLC. So that, and then we go to Nakai the Wanderer. We've already gone over him. Then we have the profile picture for my YouTube account, Gorak. I honestly, when we got Tanawin and we got Tic-Tac-Toe, oh my god, I forgot Tic-Tac-Toe was also a legendary lord added. So Tic-Tac-Toe was the free LC. He was the free lord for the Prophet and the Warlock. I never thought we would get Gorak or Nakai. I'm dead serious. I thought these would be the four, and that was it. Tic-Tac-Toe, let's just go to him before we go to Gorak. Tic-Tac-Toe is the Master of the Skies for the Lizardmen. Basically, he is the Master of Pterodon Riders, Ripperdactyls. He is the General of the Lizardmen Air Force. His claim to fame is that on a couple occasions, one in specific for Hexawaddle, he was able to fend off massive attacks using guile and his superior air forces. There was a Chaos Warlord, I forget his name, he was attacking Hexawaddle, and Hexawaddle was completely outnumbered. It was a gigantic Chaos force. They were about, as you know, Mazamundi resides in Hexawaddle. It's the City of the Sun. It's one of the most important Lizardmen cities left in Lustria. They were going to take it, and Tic-Tac-Toe, he basically took himself and a bunch of his Pterodon Riders and harassed the SHIT out of the Chaos Warriors for weeks on end. He went, dropped boulders on them over and over and over. They'd go, they'd pick off the Chaos Dwarfs running the Hell Cannons. They would go and pick off, you know, the Marauder Horsemen that were out scouting, and they just piece by piece take them out, take them out, take them out, and eventually, by the time that that Chaos Army was ready to siege Hexawaddle, the defenders of Hexawaddle came out and wiped out the Chaos Army with the help of Tic-Tac-Toe. So that's Tic-Tac-Toe. A lot of people were pissed off about Tic-Tac-Toe. They wanted one of these two guys. So now I feel that everybody is placated. If CA can come up with more Lizardmen Legendary Lords, I'm all effing for it. I think everybody knows the Lizardmen are my favorite race. First to get to 6 Legendary Lords after getting what felt like ignored for quite a while. So good on CA. I still feel Lizardmen could use some better campaign buffs and things like that, but that's neither here nor there. Let's go to Gorak. Gorak, as you can see, he has this big old green mace and that big old green shield. That is the Mace of Ulamok and the shield of... I forget the shield's name right now. Of course I do. Anyway, that shield is said to be so heavy that multiple Kroxigors have to carry it at a time. Now, Gorak's claim to fame, he's an albino, as you can see. Now I know he's not full albino, so don't get all technical with me on that. Just follow me here, because CA actually did a very good job of keeping fairly accurate to GW's art, published art on him, as you can see on my profile picture. So albinos are marked for destiny in the Lizardmen Society. So he can wield that shield. That shield is, in the lore, pretty much impenetrable. There was a battle he was fighting Dark Elves. A Dark Elf chariot charged him. He took the shield, jammed it into the ground. The Dark Elf charged him, hit the shield, and the chariot exploded into pieces. And he's just a monster. I believe in the same battle or a different battle he was fighting Dark Elves. He was impaled with a spear, and instead of, like, you know, dying, he took the spear, jammed it further through his body to get to the Dark Elf, grabbed the Dark Elf, basically ripped the dude's head off, and then Skinks carried him off to, like, tend to his wounds. So that's who we're talking about here. So that's Gorak. He starts with Lord Kroak. I have not played Gorak before. Maybe that is what we will do. But if you start with Lord Kroak, like, and you don't win your campaign, you're doing something wrong. Because if I do show you guys, Lord Kroak is he's disgusting. Like, he's just incredible in campaign. Alright, so last one, and then I promise we're done for this video. I know I've gone on for a while, but dudes, it's been so long. It's 7 legendary lords, right? Let's count them before I talk about Marcus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7. 7. Well, actually 11 because of the Vampire Coast. So 11 legendary lords since the last time I made a video. That tells me it's been way too long since I made a video. Anywho, the changes that CA has made to the Empire. It took 4 months between the Prophet and the Warlock and the Hunter and the Beast. But I totally get it. And if CA wants to continue to make incredible content like they did with this last DLC, then I will wait 6 months, 8 months in between DLCs. I'm serious. The Empire update is incredible. They completely scrapped the offices system. They went to an elector count system, which I will get into. I will play probably a Karl Franz campaign. They added 12 new cities into the provinces of the Empire, which is incredible. They added fort battles to the Empire, so much like the High Elf
the Ever Queen.
Fortress battles, the gate battles of the High Elves. It's just like that, only Empire fortresses. What else did they add? They added like acclaim and acclaim for Marcus Wolfheart, and then authority, imperial authority, and something else. And then what they did was they also took Balthazar Gelt and moved him from the starting position of Altdorf to Solent, which Solent was actually a destroyed imperial city, destroyed by Gorbad Ironclaw, or Gorbad Ironclaw? Gorbad Iron... I believe it's Gorbad Ironclaw. Somebody can correct me on that. But anyway, Gorbad was like the biggest and baddest before... what the hell is his name right now? Grimgor. Gorbad arguably was more amazing, but he got destroyed because at that point the dwarfs had a stronger empire, and the men, the Empire of Man also had a stronger empire, and they were able to defeat him. But anyway, CA decided to put Solent back in, which makes me believe, by the way, just small side note, that they will be adding Gorbad Ironclaw to as a legendary lord for the Greenskins. The Greenskins still need their overhaul and update to match, you know, the Total Warhammer 2 races, and I believe he might be like a free FLC, a free legendary lord for the Greenskins, but that's just my thinking. Anyway, totally went on a tangent. They added a ton to the Empire. Now, Marcus Wolfheart here. Marcus Wolfheart was I believe a hero on the tabletop. Again, another hero turned into a legendary lord. Really cool idea, in my opinion. I kind of wish they would make more legendary heroes, but I think they're doing that in light of, you know, they already did that with the Green Knight, even though he comes and goes. They did that with Lord Croak. I'm kind of hoping that they make the Green Knight just a staple in the armies like they do with Lord Croak for the Lizardmen. I feel like that's more appropriate than just having him pop in and out of your campaign for 20 turns at a time. Anyway, another side note. Marcus is the Hunts Marshal of the Empire. His village was attacked by, I believe, a Gorgon. If you guys know anything about Warhammer Fantasy, a Gorgon is a giant cyclopean beast with 4 arms. It is like a... what do they call those? The rock chucker artillery minotaur giant things for the beast. I can't think of their names right now. Anyway, it's basically a giant minotaur with 4 arms and 1 eye. Destroyed his whole village. He wound up killing the damn thing, and from that point forward he swore vengeance against all monsters that would attack, you know, the civilization of man. And I forget what he did. He also did something else, and the Emperor wanted to like give him all sorts of lordships and stuff. He's like, nah, bro, I'm good. I'm gonna go out and keep killing monsters because that's what I do, because I'm a badass. And Karl Franz was like, well, let me give you something else. And Karl Franz gave him his amber bow right there. The amber bow, the shots that leave the amber bow seek the heart of any monster he's shooting at. So basically he's a giant monster killer. His campaign effects, he can ambush very well. He has upkeep reduction for archers and huntsmen. Those are 2 new units in this DLC. He also obviously has very poor diplomatic relations with the Lizardmen. They added Huntsman Generals, that is, so he's a Huntsman General, and then they added Huntsman Generals behind him. Those are basically, like him, anti-large archer heroes, or legendary lords, and they're all on foot. None of the legendary lords in this last one, so this one, so Nakai, Gorak, and Marcus, none of them have mounts. They're all on foot. And they also, CA did also do an incredible overhaul of Footlords to make them more viable. If you played enough of this game, you understand that Footlords used to just get knocked over all the time. You just take cavalry or a dragon or whatever, you just knock them over continually and just put damage into them until they died. Not anymore, which is good. I still think they have a little bit of work to do, but they've done a really good job of making it much better. Marcus's whole deal is he is hunting Nakai, and Nakai is hunting Marcus. That's the whole deal. They hate each other. Nakai is trying to save the temple cities of the Lizardmen. Marcus is trying to raid them for their treasure. Marcus is basically the bad guy. Like if you see it that way, like if you believe in Manifest Destiny, then Marcus is the good guy. But like overall in the narrative, Nakai is like the stereotypical good guy. But again, I also have a Lizardman bias, so there's that. His campaign is completely unique. It's really cool. He gets reinforcements, so like based on how much he attacks the settlements around him and like the enemies around him, he gets more powerful units that come. They're like regiments of, they're like sacred spawnings for the Lizardmen, so they don't cost anything to recruit, but they do cost upkeep. But they're, I mean, you can get steam tanks, demigryph knights, outriders, all sorts of incredible stuff. It's just a really cool idea, and I'm glad CA did it. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is that with this last DLC and the DLC before that and the DLC before that, so the Vampire Coast, Prophet and the Warlock, and Hunter and the Beast, even though I was disappointed with Tahenwen's campaign, and I do think they will eventually overhaul it. If they don't, so be it, whatever. But I really think that they went out of their way to try and listen to the community. They added a ton of stuff that they didn't need to, but it makes the replayability of this game just go through the roof. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I just want to say hi, stop in, give you a background on every single legendary lore that we've missed. Some of the campaign effects for some of them, I know we didn't go over the Vampire Coast, but oh well. I did go over most of the Lizardmen, as well as Ikka Claw, and a little bit of Lokir. I didn't really talk about his effects either, but again, I mean, he's free. Just go get him in Steam, and you can play him yourself. Probably won't do a Lokir Felhar campaign, but anyway, guys, I hope you have a good night, or day, or whatever time it is that you're watching this. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you soon.